that amazing fight I commentated on, Steve-O, with Lucas Brown.
Yeah, that was an amazing fight. That was a stunning fight. Brown looked all but beaten and then come back and knocked him out, and then there was a subsequent drugs test and all sorts of accusations flying. But the Oquendo fight stays in the memory when Ramzan Kadyrov threw the trainer out the corner after the 10th round and took over, and then when the result was announced, took all the credit.
Yeah, he came down from his throne, didn't he? He had that big throne ringside tonight. He is here again, Kadyrov, tonight, but he's a bit higher in the stand, so I wonder if he'll just leave it to all the participants. I think he's got Costa's view. Actually, the great Costa, Ricky Hatton's pal, he's here ringside tonight as well. So, underway with the first of our 3 fights. This one scheduled for 10, the super middleweight division. And in the blue and gold trunks, Aslambek, Idigov, up against the Venezuelan, now based in Barcelona, Ronny Landaeta. And Landaeta's only lost once. That was to Robin Krajnicki, Steve. This is potentially a tough fight for Idigov.
Yeah, it is. Landaeta, I think he might be 36, but the ambition's still there. He's won his first 15 fights, 10 by KO, and last time out ran into Krajnicki and lost in a European EBU European title challenge. Of course, Krajnicki, 2-time world title challenger. I think he lost to Nathan Cleverly and Jürgen Bremer. That's
right, went the distance with Cleverly. That was 6 years ago, and then a couple of years later in 2015 he was retired in 9 rounds against Bremer. He went the distance against Arthur Abraham as well, just about a year and a half or so ago. Obviously a slightly faded and jaded Arthur Abraham, but Idigov starting to let some of the heavier punches go.
Yeah. With Idigov, he's been a pro now nearly 6 years, only 15 fights, so now's the time to kick on, and Landaeta's a good European level fighter and a decent yardstick for him at this stage of his career, you'd think anyway.
Yes, and potentially a sturdy test. Good, fantastic jab, right hand got through from Landaeta. Just before that, Idigov missed with what looked like a serious power punch, so no feeling out process, they're settling right down to it.
Yeah, and Landaeta, I've never seen him before. He doesn't look the tallest, but he's thick set, isn't he?
And Krajnicki, of course, had sort of come down latterly in his career, come down from light heavy to super middle. So to go the yards over 12 with him back in November was a really solid effort, sound effort from Landaeta.
Yeah. Idigov looks technically your better boxer, you would say, but Landaeta has had success with those single shots in the opening 2 minutes of the fight.
Well, all 3 of the sort of home fighters tonight, and the first of which is Idigov in this one, all 3 of them are promoted by Dimitri Salida, interestingly. He's got a few fingers in pies these days, but I suspect he'll have been shaken by and stirred by the Jarrell Big B Miller news, another fighter that he looks over in the Brooklyn area.
Yeah, mad stuff, and I think that's a bigger thing on his mind than these 3 prospects of his boxing tonight, because that's a big fight that looks like it has gone down the Swanee.
These guys settling right down to it, so it's been an entertaining first round, and I think the first 2 contests were sort of odds on to go the distance, but the way they've gone about this first round, you wouldn't necessarily bet on that now.
And Idigov just finishing a little bit stronger the last 30 seconds or so.
A good first round, that, and do you know what? Exactly the right sort of approach, I think, from Landaeta. You know, he's up against a guy who he's unproven, absolutely unproven. He's back in his native land as well. He's Grozny born and bred, Idigov, even although he's based in Vegas now these days. But this is a homecoming. It's only the 2nd time he's fought back in his native land as well. So there'll be a bit of pressure, a bit of desire to do well, and Landaeta tried to jump on him.
Yeah, he did, but Landaeta looks like he's the sort of fight. It's not going to be combinations, all single shots from Landaeta. So he's got 10 KOs in the 16 wins. So and I think 2 of his last 4 fights have not gone the distance. So the power is there.
Well, we also know about Landaeta. He can go the distance as well. The last 2 contests, both 12 rounds. 3 of his last 5 have gone a dozen rounds as well. So he's usually fit and strong, despite advancing years now at the age of 36.
Yeah, he's a fit man. He's been the Spanish champion in boxing, but also in K1 and MMA he's won titles as well. And and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So all combat sport all-rounder, really.
Here we go into the second round then, scheduled for 10. Idigov has gone 10 rounds a couple of times himself.
Yeah, and Landier's gone 12 rounds 3 times, I think, Alex.
Oh, a lovely body shot that. He really did dig that under the left elbow of Landaeta. A bit of purpose to the start of this round from Idigov. And Idigov happy to let Landaeta come to him. The footwork wasn't bad there as he just moved out of range.
Of course, Idigov is a ranked number 11 with the ranked number 11 with the WBO.
And this another sort of ranking point fight as well, being for the WBO European title. And just the possibility to squeak a point or two higher. This is the super middleweight division. Nice right hand there from Landaeta. Well, this is a good jab too.
Yeah.
There, back from Idigov. But this is exactly the right sort of test for him, I think, at this stage. He did have a year and a half out of the ring, but he has come back, linked up, of course, that sort of couple of fights in America, linked up with Salita, and here he is looking to push on. This is a kind of gut check of fair proportions for him at this stage of his career.
That's right. I mean, very early in his career, he was matched against you know, really poor fighters. I think he's only beaten 5 men with a winning record, and I think 4 of them have been in the last 5 fights, something like that. So it's only recently they've started pushing him on in recent fights to any sort of a level.
Yeah, and maybe getting him down to the right sort of weight as well. He was 171 pounds when he fought back in December. Opponent he beat there had lost 20, been knocked out 10 times, and when he won in a couple of rounds here in Grozny last September, he beat Daniel Wanyonyi on that occasion, who I think 3 or 4 years ago had lost to Bob Ajisaf. So it's a little the kind of level he's
the boxer of the two. Is Idigov again? You know, Landaeta just looking for single shots, and the first round was close, but I think Idigov, you know, stamped his authority on the 3 minutes we've just seen.
Well, last spring, just under sort of 11 or so months ago, Landaeta won in 7 when he was in Malaga back in Spain. He beat a guy called Bruno Tavares, who'd gone the distance with Nicolo Shukloka. Difficult to pronounce, easier to remember who he's been in with, of course. Bika, Arthur Abraham. He went the distance with Callum Smith, of course, before latterly been stopped in 4 up in weight to Anthony Yard. So on paper that was a good win by stoppage for Landaeta. It shows that potentially he could be a bit of a threat here if Idigov allows him. I think the pattern is set. Landaeta is trying to come forward. Idigov, you can see his footwork's not bad. Little shake of the head there as he misses wildly with the right hand, but his footwork defensively, his footwork's quite good.
Yeah, look, he's in control of this. Apart from the first round, you feel he's in control, but he's having to work hard for everything here. But you know, when you look at these two, Alex, they're not the biggest super middleweights in the world, are they, by any stretch?
No, not.
When you look at the size of people like, you know, Callum Smith, for example. I know he's a freak of nature, but you know, people go on about, you know, Billy Joe Saunders moving up. You know, are we in the, you know, the guys now trying a hand at super middleweight aren't the biggest in the world. Callum Smith, of course, he's a beast, isn't he? As is Gilberto Ramirez, who, when he made his light heavyweight debut last week, I believe was 200 pounds when he got in the ring.
Yeah, and he looked good, didn't he? Even although he's sort of still keen to retain his position for this sort of very full title, of course, the WBO. Billy Joe looked like he'd he'd got an in to fight for the interim briefly for a few months back at the start of the year, but yeah, that's going to kind of work itself out. These guys are just trying to earn some points and seem some way off that sort of rarefied air.
They are, for sure. I think I've read something, Frank Warren is asking for more clarification from Ramirez's camp and the WBO, because he did hint that his future was at £175 after the win against Tommy Carpensi.
As good as he looked, Ramirez, he fancy Carpensi, he was looking sorry for himself pretty much around in.
Yeah, Carpensi hasn't been the worst light heavyweight, but you know, he's been stopped a few times now, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's had a solid career, solid career, but this is pretty much tit for tat here. It's a really good, solid, almost sparring between them. Landaeta's giving it a go. You can just sense that Idigov is looking to land a big punch, but defensively he's making Landaeta miss, and that's one of the more impressive things so far through the first couple of rounds. End of the latest of them.
I think Landaeta there was, you know, still trying his best, but I don't think the ambition was there that was there in the first round.
Well, so far through a third of the fight, and Aslambek Idigov is not necessarily known as a puncher, although latterly he has stopped a few, but we gave you some perspective on those. He stopped 2 out of 2 and 3 out of his last 4, but just below a 50% KO ratio so far. He is giving up a little bit of height and reach to Landaeta, who's 2 inches taller than Idigov, and he's almost as broad as he is tall.
You talk of, you know, this sort of fight gets you world rankings, but you look at them and you don't see anything that suggests they're going to trouble the scorers if they mix amongst the elite of this division, do you?
No, but I suppose with Idigov, it's a case of, you know, perhaps he needs to move on now. He had that sort of from Moscow when he fought in 2016, he had a year and a half off, and then he's sort of reappeared in the US early in 2018, and here he is at the start of the new year. He has been a pro for a few years now, and they probably need to crack on with him.
That's right. When you think in the current climate, our fighters are brought through quicker. 15 fights in almost 6 years as a professional isn't a lot at all, even taking into account the break he had.
Mind you, I suppose the natural inclination when people start getting rankings in the top 20, just outside the top 10 as he is, Steve-O, is that you're kind of concentrating your thoughts towards world level, whereas you know, with Landaeta just having gone the distance for the European title, you know, maybe it gives you an indication of the direction he should be moving in.
Yeah, I mean, the European level, you know, that's no slight on. I mean, you know, I'm saying, you know, man, I'm being a bit harsh saying he can't, you know, you doubt where he can mix with the elite. When you look at the elite, there is, you know, guys like Anthony Durrell, Callum Smith, Caleb Pratt and Gilberto Ramirez.
Well, I suppose when you think about, you know, that someone like Tyrone Zoiga was able to win a world title, that would give hope to loads of guys who are sort of top 10, top 20 contenders.
Yeah, and of course the WBA sort of regular champion now below Callum Smith is Canelo Alvarez still.
Theoretically.
Theoretically, yeah, but still is.
On paper.
On paper.
On paper, but theoretically. As we go through the first couple of minutes of round 4, you just fancy that a little bit of the fizz and endeavour, maybe not quite what it was in the first round and a half from Landaeta. He's still trying as he's clubbed by a left hook there, but he can't really close the gap.
It's just you've seen from he isn't closing the gap, and as each round's gone by, you're getting less and less from him, I think.
And if the fitness of Idigov is on point, and the way he's able to just move his feet to get himself out of any danger, if he can maintain that, then this is one he can perhaps coast and maybe build on through the second half of the fight.
I say he's coasted a bit. He's coasted a bit in this round, but you know he still has been caught a couple of times through getting careless and stepping in range.
Always a risk with the hands down low like that as he boxes. But again, he's very much sort of controlling the pace and the distance of the fight.
Yeah. Landietta's competitive, but he's not winning rounds.
He actually had a real negative at the start of that fight with Robin Krasniqi when he was down in the first round. I think through the first half of the fight he's deducted a point as well, but still he went the distance in the end. There you see, just landed the left hook a couple of times, Landietta.
It's almost as if Indigo, you know, he's been moving well. No, every so often he just stays in range for that split second more and gets caught by one of those single shots. But despite Landietta's 10 KO wins, it doesn't look like he's really got the power to trouble him.
Approaching halfway then in this one, Aslambek Idigov up against Ronny Landietta. The super middleweight division for WBO European title. And Idigov unbeaten 15 so far, looking to find his feet and make his way, and certainly the footwork's been the key to snatching and grabbing some of those early rounds. It's just more the kind of composure and control that he seems to have on the distance and the pace of this fight so far.
It's interesting, Idigov, like the other Russians we're going to see tonight, Salamov and Davtayev, he trains at the Kronk gym under Jovan Sugarhill Stewart, but I can't see Jovan in the corner with them tonight, or with him anyway.
Good jab from Idigov. He doesn't have as many Kronk t-shirts as I've got, Steve.
Oh, I reckon you walk around, is it Berkshire, where you're the Lord of Berkshire? I dare say when you and Mrs. Steelo go for a Sunday drink on Easter Sunday, you'll be in a yellow Kronk t-shirt.
Yeah, but I've got the lot, Steve. I've got about 20 of them.
I think the red would suit you well, Steelo.
I've got one of those. Got the maroon with the orange. You've got the baby blue. A couple of, obviously they're all tight, slim fits.
You don't wear them tucked into your jeans, though, do you?
No, never. Oh, right hand. There, he slightly caught him off balance, did Idigov. Interesting to see how his fitness holds up. He does have that sort of bulky look to him, although he's slightly small maybe in stature. Oh, lovely right hand. Oh, he put him on his heels there, Idigov. That was a solid right hand, and for the first time he's got Landietta backing off and trying to hold on. It looked like it was a good punch, and then there was just that moment sort of where Landietta froze and then was rocked back, and he goes for the same shot again. Idigov starting to get through here at the halfway point. Well, this would be, to be fair, Stephen, you and I talked about it beforehand when we were thinking about tonight, and we both thought this had points written all over it, and given he went that distance with Krasniqi, you know, he's been a solid operator over the years. This would, if he could force a stoppage, that'd be a hell of a statement.
Oh, it would show where at this stage of his career that he belongs amongst, the European best. That is another level to go up after that. But, he is, you see through this fight, even if he doesn't get the stoppage, he is a good European level fighter.
I couldn't believe that Krasniqi's still only 32.
I was looking up yesterday and I saw that, and it seems an eternity ago that he challenged Nathan Cleverly over here.
Yes, we're talking 6 years nearly.
7 years ago. It was in the very early Box Nation days we had that fight.
Absolutely. It would have been basically the first full season of Box Nation back in 2013. But here, the biggest round so far for Aslambek Idigov. There's that right hand. And he just backed off. He was sort of slightly delayed reaction.
Yeah, but his left leg seemed to just shake a little bit there, delayed. But with each round, Idigov, I've got him winning every round. The first one close, second one not as close. With each round, he seems to be, winning each round easier and easier.
So after that breakthrough in round 5, is that the template? Is that the platform now for Idigov going forward into the second half of this fight?
And Landieta's looking every bit. He's 36 years of age in that corner.
And oh, nice left hand from Landieta at the start of this one. He's not really been able to close the gap, but the left hand has been, maybe because his hands are low often, Idigov, although he's got them clubbed around his ears here, but the left hook has been the one sort of potential danger punch for him.
Yeah, as dominant as Idigov has been, and he looks okay. I don't think his defence is cast iron. As you say, if you're going to hold that left hand low like he does, you've got to have the reflexes and defence have got to be there. And I'm not sure the reflexes as he moves up the levels are going to see him through. He does need to work on that, and I don't think he's the sort of fighter who can go through fights with his left hand low for the whole of his career.
I'll tell you what, Steve, the first minute is the best of the whole fight for Landieta.
Yeah, apart from that.
Oh, huge left hand. The gum shields come out. Well, the referee's stopped proceedings to get that sorted, but really, he should have let that fly.
Yeah, I think the gum shield, you have to, like in Britain, you have to stop. If the gum shield comes out, you stop the fight. I'm guessing the Russian rules are the same.
To be fair to Landieta, he took the shot well.
Yeah, look, he's getting caught, Landieta. Apart from that last round, he's never, when his left leg went slightly, he's never looked like getting stopped, I don't think, Alex, or has been badly hurt.
No, but he's been aggressive here, and this is just threatening to break into a bit of a firefight, and you can see that he's thinking about this, Idigov. He's working the jab to up and downstairs. He's just trying to create prize a few openings here. They might be coming.
And you can tell he's looking to throw that right hand. It's almost like he's itching to be detonated forward.
And just when Landieta was having his best spell of the whole fight.
This is Landieta's best round since round 1.
Oh, just slipped on some liquid in the corner. Just as Landieta had switched southpaw there, and there's a bit of blood, I think, coming from his mouth and nose. Ahmad on the trunks of Idigov, the promotional company behind tonight's action from Grozny. Again. That's 2 separate corners that Idigov has just slipped in.
And his nose looks a mess, doesn't it?
Well, that left hook caught him right on the tip of his chin or his nose.
But the way he looked at the camera and gave that little wink to you there, Stedo, I don't think it's bothering him too much.
Well, as you said, he's a fighter, isn't he?
Yeah, he's
whatever discipline.
Yeah, MMA, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Can't use his hands or feet here, though. Sorry, can't use he can't use his grappling or his kicks here. Can.
I've always wondered, you see so many of these fighters now that do all the mixed combat sports, that we're going to see one in the ring one day forget himself and aim a flying kick.
Well, I think, wasn't it Kovalev who's, but just before he fought Andre Ward the first time, wasn't he doing a bit of MMA? Just so that he basically, because they were sort of hypothesizing or wondering about the kind of hit and grab that Ward's, you wouldn't beat off Klitschko proportions, but Ward's kind of has that in sort of grappling it in his armory, doesn't he? And I think he did, Kovalev, do a bit of that in the build-up to it. Didn't help him.
I didn't know that. Well, I have spoke to a few boxers lately. Some do have a grappling on a mat. you know, wrestling, not like you see on, you know, WWE, but grappling on the mat. And I've spoken to, I was with a boxer the other week, and when he retires from boxing, he wants to go in these wrestling competitions.
Well, you look at, you know, the way Ricky Hatton fought. You know, he would have been a natural at that sort of stuff, and there's no reason to say that a little bit of that training won't help you in the clinches and so on and so forth. Spinning your man, as long as you've got the basic boxing skills in place first. But yeah, I can see how that could help. Here we go then. Continuing the action from Grozny. It looked like a big breakthrough for Idigov, but tough nut Landaeta. It's not going to be easily shrugged aside or stopped.
As I say, you see these guys come over from Europe and fight the house fight, and you know, they see they lose every round, and so often they lack ambition. The one thing about Landaeta, he's doing his utmost to keep himself in the fight and keep it competitive.
Well, it's amazing the amount of sort of fighters from North and South and Central America who have found themselves in Spain, isn't it? The huge band of the Nicaraguans who seem to be over in Spain and Barcelona. Same here.
All around that Barcelona region as well.
Same with Landaeta.
I think Landaeta's a lot of he fights down in the southern Spain in Malaga.
He's trying to come forward. I think when he switched on Idigov, his defences are good enough, but as Steve said, he got a bit lazy in the previous round. He was clipped quite a few times through the first minute and a bit.
You know what, there's levels you can get away with it at. You know, what I'm saying is he's not going to get away with it. There's times in the fight where he stays in range, and Landaeta doing his little Billy Joe Saunders impression there, like Billy Joe did against Lemieux. So we know he watched that fight.
Well, it's
15,
amazing.
16 months ago.
It's amazing how many fighters have been doing that. Charlie Edwards did it the other week in his
I didn't see Charlie's fight.
He did it in his world title defense. But you know what? If ever there was one man who shouldn't be doing it, it's Landaeta, because he actually got clipped with the right hand and he still did it. And he's got blood streaming down his face. So I think slightly ironic there from the Venezuelan.
The blood's his badge of courage, as some of these boxers might say.
Oh, that was a good right hand, actually. He tried to jab to the stomach, and then he let a right hand go to the ribcage there, Landaeta.
See, there's times you mentioned the Indigov's hands low, and it's too often he's still in range when he should be out of range in this fight. You know, he stays in there for that split second.
Well, he's given Landaeta a chance that he doesn't need to give him.
And you know, these last couple rounds, Landaeta has, you know, obviously the gum shield went flying the previous round, but he's been he's come into it a lot more the last round or so.
He's just clipped there, but I think he's super fit.
And I think has Idigov been 10 rounds once? I know Landaeta has been 12-round distance 3 times in his career.
Yeah, twice 10 rounds, Idigov, but perhaps not under this sort of physical pressure, to an extent, pressure. At least Landaeta's forcing him to work. A couple of body shots there at the end from Idigov, but better moments last couple of rounds from Landaeta. Now, you wonder if that's perhaps slightly due to fitness or maybe just attitude.
I think you made a valid point earlier, you know, about, you know, Idigov, could he keep the pace up for the 10 rounds? And is it significant the last couple of rounds he's been winning them, but they've started getting a little bit tougher for him, where you think rounds 2 to 5 he absolutely coasted through.
I think also you have to give loads of credit to Landaeta, don't you? Because he really has, he's willfully pushed himself forward, particularly, and eye-catching the last couple of rounds.
I'll tell you what, you wouldn't mind Landaeta coming over and fighting in this country, would you? Because you know you are going to get an import who is going to try and push you all the way, even if he's not successful.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know if he's in the little black book of matchmakers over here, but there he is, playing up to the crowd as well. You can see that there's no doubt he'd do a job.
He's getting beat, but he's loving every minute of it.
Into round 8. Final 3 rounds scheduled in this one. Super middleweight, and Aslambek. Idigov, who's in the gold and blue. Almost the Ukrainian colours, hasn't he? He did fight his first 9 contests actually in Ukraine. It's a rare 40 back to his homeland.
He had a couple of wins in the United States last summer, didn't he?
Looking strong, Landaeta, after that sort of scare in round 5 where he copped that big right hand. And round 6, was it, Steve-O, when the left hook knocked the gum shield out?
Round 6, and then since then he's come back into the fight, not doing enough to win the fight, but he's certainly been a lot more. He's made it, a much better fight, and a lot more competitive. Idigov calls himself the Hulk, is his nickname.
He's broad enough. We've not seen him angry so far. It's been generally quite a composed, thoughtful performance from him. It looked like maybe around 5 and 6 that there was just the possibility, just a slight door ajar that he might be able to create a bit of a stir.
I think it was round 5 when the left leg went a bit, and as you say, it's been quite fortunate. In that first round, of course, Landaeta started well and landed a couple of good single shots, which told you, that he does have some power.
I think there was a slip there. I tell you what, there's a really solid jab, though,
yeah,
that kind of put him in that position in the first place, interestingly.
I thought at first that he had touched down.
He might have been unbalanced by the jab, and then he did slip. Possibly. Maybe we'll get a chance to look back on that. But anyway, still the blood streams from his nose. Landaeta, and still he comes forward. That's better from Idigov. Really solid when he throws those right hands to the body.
Hasn't thrown enough of them, has he? And if Landaeta had easier, I think he'd make it a war of attrition, wouldn't he?
Absolutely. He's just not able to. He takes the applause of the crowd, tries to get them involved, but he's not quite. When he's been allowed to, he's been able to close the gap, but he's not really been allowed to most of the night. Just little lapses occasionally from Idigov.
I'll guarantee if this it looks like it is going to go the 10-round distance, I guarantee if it goes against him, Landaeta is a type of fighter who will feign surprise.
There was that jab, and then he definitely did slip. His left hand went. I'll tell you what was interesting there, Steve, in those exchanges. Landaeta landed a sort of clubbing right hand to the head of Idigov, and Idigov literally wrapped his arms around him almost immediately. I didn't pick up on that live.
Cornerman there with Landaeta, I don't know the regular faces we see over here when the Nicaragua and Ryanair plane lands at Stansted and Manchester.
Here we go then into round 9. Scheduled for 10. Super middleweight division.
It's been a good workout for Idigov, this, and one that you'd like to think would bring him on a bit.
And he will have people wondering about his power, though, because he landed that really strong right hand. That was the one punch that did seem to make a little impression. The left hook was pretty clean, and Landaeta wasn't remotely bothered. But to be fair, he's only lost once. Landaeta, he does look pretty tough.
Yeah, he's a solid European campaigner. He's not going to trouble the scorers at the highest level of European boxing. We saw in his his title challenge, but there's plenty of fighters on the circuit who he will get the better of. As you say, Landaeta for that build and the nickname the Hulk, he doesn't quite look like the type that bowls them over, though, does he?
No, no. He's pretty tidy and he's pretty accurate, but whether he's quite big enough or punches hard enough for when he's going to go up in grade, if and when.
You know, I know he's thick-set and you know, as wide as he is tall, but I still think he could do middleweight.
A bit lazy there. He's trying to counter-punch now, and he's not always timing it right. With a minute to go in this ninth. And no doubt Landaeta just won't go away. Oh, I tell you,
he's having a good round here, Landaeta.
He is, and he was just a whisker away with that right hand again, Landaeta. He landed one of those in the previous round.
And as we go in the approach in the penultimate round, one more to go. Is he finishing the stronger of the two, you can ask?
Well, arguably it's been that case from the 6th round onwards, Steve. Not effective, but he copped that left hook that sent the gum shield flying in the 6th. But bar that, he had a good round there. He's been strong in the 7th, 8th, and again in the 9th, although it's just ineffective pressure.
I mean, I did give him I think it was the 7th round. I've got to give him this round as well.
And there goes the bell. I suppose what we're saying is second half of the fight, they're not quite the authority that perhaps you might have expected from Idigov, but maybe that plays down the strength and the toughness of Landaeta.
Yeah, the strength of Landaeta, and I think you did question when he was going full throttle from rounds 2 to 5, you did question around in the 4th round, Alex, whether he would be able to keep that up for 10 rounds. Because he was flat to the balls to dominate, though. He did dominate those rounds, but was flat out.
I know that Barry Jones always talks about, when he talks about pace and how you ration your energy and whether you feel it in a fight or not. He says it's usually the guy that's kind of controlling the pace is least tired. And I suppose, although he's coming forward, Landaeta, he's missing a lot. He might just be more comfortable with the pace of this.
And Idigov, I think, you know, his feet look a lot better earlier in the fight. They have slowed up a bit, and that's one of the reasons he is getting caught more in these last second half of the fight than he was hardly caught the two after, between 2 and 5.
Here we go then into round 10. Got a light heavyweight and a heavyweight encounter still to come. Both of them scheduled for 10 as well. Here in this Grozny Russia on Box Nation. Can Idigov just show us something else and maybe another gear?
I think he's well enough. He's well ahead. I don't think he needs to find another gear, Alex. It's been a competitive fight, a tough fight for him, but you know he is in a pretty clear lead.
He's definitely vulnerable to that right hand, isn't he?
Well, he's at the left-hander low. As he's got more and more tired, he's in range even more. Whereas before, it was occasionally he was getting caught. The last round, he was in range all the time, and that's something he's got to iron out as he moves up in levels, which they are starting to do with him.
Oh, there it goes again. See, right hand from Landaeta. Maybe the footwork just he lands again. Landaeta. The footwork not working so well for Idigov in the second half of the fight.
I mean, what this would have done for Dimitri Salita, who promotes him, and his connections, is what with Idigov, this has shown him where he is in his career right now, this fight. And it's a long way from the top.
Another right hand gets through from Landaeta. So the second half of the fight will definitely be food for thought for Idigov and his team. best round of the fight for Landaeta.
Idigov may have won, but he looks like the one who's be more relieved to hear the final bell.
Yeah, he looks pretty tired inside the final minute. You can see those kind of weary punches. Clip with another right hand. He's happy to hang on up close. Idigov, he definitely shown signs of the strain here. I mean, the thing that impressed me through the first half of the fight is a body shot gets through from Landaeta as well, was the defensive footwork, and that has been notably absent through the last 3 or so rounds.
Yeah, his feet have become so slow over the last few rounds, and as you say, he's getting caught by right hands because that left hand's low, and he's in range more often than not to be caught.
That'll be something that the team will be looking at, and maybe opponents will be working on as well going forward. As we see some of the action from that last round, and there's one of the cameos from Landaeta, the right hand. There's another one just skimming the forehead. There's another one got through. There were 3, 4 or so of them throughout that round that landed significantly, and that was the best round of the fight so far for Landaeta, who hasn't always been effective, but maybe just able to get a little closer throughout the second half of the fight. Well, here we go. Apologies, folks. We were all told it was scheduled for 10, but here we are into round 11, a bonus, and that might be a slight worry. Oh, the paperwork said 10 rounds, but we are in Russia. And I tell you what, there's one guy who wished it was 10 rounds, and that is the guy in the blue and gold trunks, Idigov, because things have been getting a bit harder, and particularly that last round, and that just gives Landaeta maybe a little glimmer of hope, Steve-O.
Yeah, he's got 6 minutes left, and he's won the last 2 rounds, and hardly run a round before that. He's closing the gap all the time now in this fight. I gave him the 9th round, and there's absolutely no doubt that he won the 10th round.
A nice right hand getting through there from Idigov. Back comes Landaeta. Idigov might now just have to bite down on his gum shield and give it a go. There's one thing we do know is that Landaeta has gone the 12-round distance in each of his last 2 fights and 3 of his last 5. So he's been here before. Uncharted territory now for Idigov. And credit the Russian, because he's trying to get on the front foot and push Landaeta back. Landaeta's had the blood streaming from his nose since the 6th round.
Landaeta getting the better of these exchanges, albeit weary ones. The Russians' corner there, you can see them standing up, urging their man on. They're obviously a bit concerned that what could happen. We've still got a round and a minute of this one to go.
He's tried to get back to his boxing in this round, Idigov, to be fair to him, as he gets through with the left hand. He has been on the front foot throughout, and clearly he's been told in between rounds that to reverse the trend that we've seen in the previous few rounds.
The Spanish corner also on their feet, telling their man just to plough forward and let his hands go, which he is doing his best to do.
Oh, this has been a good response actually from Idigov.
Yeah,
just the threat for the last 2 rounds that he could be pressured and asked a few serious questions, but actually he's dug in and he's tried to push back Landaeta. Which has not been easy throughout, but he managed to do it in that round. Really gutsy effort, that, and response from Idigov.
Yeah, no, but it was Landaeta who had the last say there, knocking the gum shield out of Idigov with a right hand.
There you saw Costas Dieu alongside Kadriov. A few Grozny fighters on the bill, so it's a kind of homecoming for a few of them tonight. Umar Salimov, a light heavy, in our next. So 1-all bar one of his 24 contests. He's a Grozny man coming home, and Abti Dabtayev in our top of the bill at heavyweight. He's up against Pedro Otas, the Brazilian, who on paper shouldn't be big enough.
Yeah, and Abti Dabatov, you know, we haven't seen him on Box Nation before, but 6'6", 18 stone, all the attributes of what you want from a heavyweight.
And he's got a
tall and big.
He's got a 5-inch advantage in height and a 4.5-inch advantage in reach, Steve. Everything's in favour of Dabtayev. That's our top of the bill. On paper, it looks like it could be a short night for him, but we'll see. It's the long haul here into the 12th round in our opener. Aslambek, Idigov up against Ronny Landaeta. And it looked like Landaeta coming on strong through the second half of the fight, even although he may not have started winning rounds perhaps to the 9th and 10th. Maybe the first was interesting too.
Yeah, all Landaeta can do now, you know, 2.5 minutes left, is just plough forward and just let his shots go. He's not getting this on points, and he is behind.
Well, I was impressed with Idigov in that last round. So we talked about gut check at the start of this, just as a contest full stop, as a match, as a challenge for Idigov, the biggest of his career so far. And there's no doubt, after rounds 9 and 10, he was having to ask himself some questions, and the corner looked like they got stuck into him, and he's sort of come up with an answer. That's great credit to him, regardless of where you think he kind of fits into the scheme of things. And both landing left hands in that skirmish midway through this final round.
As you say, he's a lot more comfortable when he goes back to his boxing, isn't he?
I think he's switched on again. Maybe he's seen getting to the 10th and seen the finishing line in sight. Maybe, you know, that was at the back of his mind, possibly, Steve-O?
Yeah, in his face there, it is a mask of concentration just to see this one out, isn't it?
Oh, big right hand there from Idigov. The crowd are getting into it too. They're trying to roar him on. And he's putting in a big finish. Where has this been?
You see him gritting his teeth there, can't you? Just ploughing forward himself, letting his hands go.
Oh, he's got fantastic effort, this from Idigov. He has been roared on.
The crowd have really enjoyed this. You can see both corners up shouting at their men. And the way the Spanish are jumping up and down, they think this is close. I'm not too sure.
Idigov. Oh, fantastic left hook, gets through the guard and the gloves of Landaeta, who kind of basically shrugs it off and beckons him on again.
And the referee's his sleeves on his shirt covered in the blood from Landaeta's nose injury.
Landaeta holding on for just about the first time. Idigov is talking to him in the closing seconds. It really has been a fantastic response. The 11th and 12th rounds from Idigov, perhaps just digging in.
It's been an enjoyable fight, but the last 4 rounds, we've really enjoyed it. It's been a tremendous action. Well,
as always in a match like this, questions asked, and I think the gut check and the attitude and the heart and the determination, all of that has been ticked by Idigov tonight at the end of 12 pretty hard rounds.
Hey, that was a tough round. We were talking war of attrition around round 7, and that's what those last 3 rounds became, Alex.
Well, we thought we were in for 10. In the end, we got 12. And to be honest, if you'd have watched the previous 10, I don't think you would have expected that sort of response and closing of the show from Idigov.
No, not at all. Especially the way he was struggling in rounds 9 or 10, but almost feeling sorry for himself.
Well, now he knows he can do the 12 rounds and cheered on by raucous support. Of course, that man on the left, two from the left, knows all too well about a raucous support. Some 14 years ago, summer of 2005, against a certain Richard Hatton.
Talking about, I was up at Ricky Hatton's gym doing some filming for Frank Warren in the week, and myself, Ben Davison, Ricky were talking, and Billy Joe Saunders were talking about that night, that fight, the whole thing. And you know, a couple of things Ricky was talking about. It was a fantastic, you know, sometimes you're privileged to be in this job, and being around the conversations that day of various fights, what went wrong, you know, Ricky talking the Mayweather fight, brilliant to be around.
Yeah, well, we had him in the studio doing a fight to remember, didn't we? A few years back. That'll be on replays, folks. You'll be able to see that on repeat on Box Nation, I'm sure. But Ricky actually talking through the fight round by round, and that was fantastic to get his insight. Plenty more coming up. Yeah, real respect there, I think, from the two corners.
Yeah, it was a good fight. So the last 4 rounds, it was a good fight. The last quarter of the fight, we really enjoyed.
There is Kostya. Son was fighting, wasn't he?
Yeah, Tim is he? I saw someone. Oh, I saw him linked with quite a big fight last week. I can't think who it was against.
Hard act to follow. I think any boxer following.
You know what? You follow your dad into the ring. I mean, obviously, you know, nepotism and all that can work for you and get your opportunities, but the pressure of some, you know, following your dad into the ring at any sort of level, and hard it is for your dad as well. I mean, I remember, you know, Steve Foster Sr. when Foster Jr. went over. In the end, Steve Foster Sr. just couldn't train him anymore because he was too attached to his son.
Yeah.
Very difficult for the whole family, and of course the mothers have often got to live through it again.
Well, Aslambek Idigov has gone through that, and he's ticked a load of boxes, so he'll be hoping that some of his upcoming fights won't be as tough as that one, but in truth, they're only going to get tougher. Pretty comfortable in the end, Steve-O?
Yeah, he lost rounds, but, you know, over the 12 rounds, he certainly won. You know, I think I've got it 9-3, 8-4, 9-3, around there. So 1-1-6, 1-1-12 at best, so...
Уважаемые любители бокса, обращаемся к судейским запискам. Итак, судья Джулио Пирес, 115-113. Александр Калинкин, 118-110. Судья Лешек Янковяк, 114-114. Большинством судей одерживает победу и становится новым чемпионом в двух престижнейших номинациях IBF Европа и WBO European. Aslambek Idigov.
Well, he fought an extra couple of rounds and he gets an extra belt as well, with the IBF added to the WBO European for Idigov. Applause and appreciation all